Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities, dollar yields, precious metals, and commodities and ETFs that I follow. That's what the order we're going to go through it. I'm going to give you my financial opinions. And if you want to join our finding-value.com community, we do have a discount going on. It's called September for the discount code. It is 50% off the first month if you want to try it. All right, guys, let's dive in here. Let's see what today's got going on. We've got strength in the dollar. Things are getting interesting here. So we've got dollar strength. Looking at this chart, DXY wants to go higher. We are above the support level, that white line going across there in the middle of the page. We are above support, and we are still above that support level. Has not broken down. We are kind of squeezing up on it. You can see that squeeze up on that line there. If we were to break down, my guess is that the dollar's weakening and yields will weaken. We could see some weakness in the markets, or you could say that the currencies that this is being measured against are strengthening. That is generally a function of where we are in the cycle, the real estate cycle. And during the last bull market, if you go back and look at the last bull market, we squeezed all the way up, and then we had a weakening dollar ever since 2000, all the way down to 2008. I think something like that is going to come. I think we had our first little leg lower, but I think there's another leg somewhere to head lower in the future. That's my guess. But looking at the short-term charts, guys, doesn't look to be the case yet. That looks strong, and it looks like we could continue higher for the DXY. Now you go over to yields. Yields, we've pulled on back here in the short term, but we're coming back to this support level. That is where we want to see if we're going to hold or not. So are we going to hold here? Are we going to turn around and head back up? I don't necessarily know this short-term move here. And I don't really have, what I would say is we are above support. We have not broken that support. And I would assume that we are going to go higher given the pattern. Looking at the 10-year yield, we've come on back. I put that trend line in there a week ago or something like that. And we're trending towards that trend line. Now, are we going to break the trend line, or are we going to bounce and ricochet back to the upside? That's what we're looking for. Is this uptrend in yields going to continue? And then the TYX, this is the longer end of the curve. It's pulled back, a good chunk here this past week or two. And are we going to head higher, or is this going to be that kind of Batman pattern where we head on lower? It could be, and that's what we're looking and watching for. If everything comes back down, we could see the yield curve uninvert, and that is a definite tailwind behind precious metals. And generally, the dollar falls, and commodities are generally pretty strong during that period. TYX, TNX, we're just going sideways, but this still looks good to go higher. So we're getting mixed signals here. We've got the dollar strengthening. We've got yields looking like they want to go lower. And then we got the TYX, TNX ratio. This is kind of saying, hey, you know what? Maybe we'll go lower. Maybe. We'll see. But this looks good to continue on up where the curve uninverts. The short end goes down faster than the long end, or the long end goes up at a faster pace than the shorter end, the 10-year. TLT bond prices, they have been moving up. This does look very strong for potentially a continued move to the upside. What does that mean? It means that the long end of the curve wants to go lower in yields, higher on bond prices. So this isn't as straightforward as one may think. Bond prices on the 20-year look like they want to go up. Some of the yields look like they want to go up too, and you can't have both of them go up at the same time. Now, you could have the short end go up and the long end go down or something like that. That is possible. But this looks good to go higher here. We've got the Green Army showing up, not much selling pressure, and I mean it looks good for a grinding move higher. Gold basically flat here, and I we got to see where yields want to go, and right now I think the trend line is up. That's the momentum is up, and bond prices on the longer end is also up, which is confusing. We've got a conflict there. And I think gold's like, what the heck are we going to do here? But let's watch it over the next few weeks. I think we'll establish a trend line. If I were to choose a direction in gold, it is higher. We're sitting on top of a pattern here. We've broken it. We've done a full retest, and this looks good to go and start cruising to the upside. Silver getting a little bit more selling pressure. We're at that last line of resistance. It's holding up right now. And it's not a huge selling pressure day. I mean, it's a little bit, but again, we might loop back around. We could even come all the way back down if it wants to, and then we try to break it again. So that's what I think was going to go there. Platinum also moving sideways, confused at the short term here, but that still looks good on the longer term to go up. XAU to gold ratio, we're just cruising sideways in it, down 1% above support. CRB index still cruising higher, looks pretty good actually, and I do think that will continue on up. Oil actually finished quite strong today. It's looking quite good. And here's the overall look at this thing. I think that wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, I think we're on something like a wave 1, wave 2, and then maybe we get a good old move higher here. That's what we've got. And GDX, we're down a little bit today with GDX right at support resistance line. Not much to really say here. It's not a huge selling pressure day. GDXJ and SILJ are exhibiting the same exact pattern. They're all the same for the most part. And we're just going sideways. We need to get a clear direction on silver, clear direction on gold, get that thing with some momentum behind it, and I think the gold and silver miners will clean up the direction that they're going to take. Crude oil, actually, it's a pretty strong performance here. It's also finishing quite strong. Look at that move, guys. We had a little bit of a sell-off here. We had a double bottom breakout, and then we just cruised on higher. That looks like our long-term patterns on a lot of different commodities, though. But yeah, momentum's higher, looks strong, is strong. Man, crude oil is looking really good. We got to think from a long. We're gonna go higher here, boys. Natural gas down a little bit, about 1%. We're still holding on here. We got to get through the fall though, but still looks good. Still looks good. Momentum's going on up. Maybe a little bloody nose, what we call it. Continuation pattern to the upside. XOP, it's not really following oil. We are up against resistance. Remember that big neckline we've got. There's the neckline going across here. We're up against that neckline. We got to punch through. And it may take a little bit of effort to punch through this thing. So we've got that. OIH down a little bit today. It's not really a big down day, though. They do look a little bit tired, XOP and OIH, in relationship to crude oil going up 2.4%. Be interesting to see what happens over the next week or two. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to stay in these things and just ride this bad boy up. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust still eking out the gain, 0.5%. It's still working its way on higher. The companies, the equities, kind of flat today. So flat in URA still looks good. Not a reversal candlestick. Same with URNM, still basically flat today. And URNJ, a little bit more of a selling pressure day, but it's still got good momentum to the upside. We've got good support kind of in this region down here that we could fall back on if it wants to. We do have a little bit of resistance coming through here as well, and that's where we're at. So we got to punch through that resistance and get moving. TAN moving sideways. That is a little bloody nose, not much selling pressure. That does look like it wants to continue higher. So that's looking good. COPX, we're still in this channel, and we're just bouncing back and forth, ping-ponging, and we're still in it. This is Global Lithium ETF. This looks good. Big green candlestick. A couple of little down days. I call them bloody noses. Continuation pattern to the upside. That's generally a continuation pattern. REMX, I bet you it's doing something similar. Yeah, a couple of small down days. It's trying to put in a bottom here. It's trying. The S&P 500, small down day. We are contracting in the days here. The opening and closing prices are contracting and getting closer together. That could potentially be a turn, but it's not huge selling pressure. It's not a gigantic reversal candlestick or anything like that. But we'll have to wait and see what it does. Same with the NASDAQ. You can see that we're contracting. These 2 days are contracting, and the candlesticks are getting smaller and smaller. The opening and closing price, that generally indicates a turn that could potentially happen in those candlesticks. Emerging markets down. We had that stronger dollar. Doesn't like the stronger dollar, and we pulled back to the support level. XHB, I bet you that's liking the weaker yields. But one thing that does concern me about some of these charts is we fell pretty hard here. And we're going up a lot slower. There's not as much momentum. We could turn over and sell off in some of these areas. I mean, that is still a potential. Moo also getting bearish engulfing. Does look like it wants to go lower in the short term. Copper moving sideways. Tough to say where this thing wants to go. We're above support. Looks okay. Iron ore. This thing had a launch launch Thursday. This is Friday in China. But iron ore broke out. This thing looks fantastic to boogie on up. Dry bulk shipping should look good. Some of these iron ore companies, diversified miners, might look good. Nickel still kind of bleeding a little bit, just moving sideways. Right at support. Aluminum up a little bit at support resistance. Right around that area. We've got the Baltic Dry Index down a little bit. Again, I think we're going higher. Higher is the way that I view this. Fallen wedge with the false breakout. It should have broke down here. It didn't. I'm bullish on it. Newcastle coal down a little bit. But again, it's trying to put in a bottom here, guys. I think it looks good. I think we're coming on up. Momentum's to the upside. And then Bitcoin down quite a bit. Lots of selling pressure today. Same with Ethereum. What the heck is going on here? That's weird. That is very weird. We definitely have support under here. Look at those big wicks. And a negative is we punched out below that trend line. And we did it with some pretty big selling pressure. So I usually don't like seeing this when we punch out below a trend line. Lots of selling pressure. This very well could be something that continues lower. But that's what we've got for today, guys. That's what I'm seeing in the markets. I would say of all the groups, energy still remains the strongest with oil. Oil's looking very strong. Uranium still looks very strong. And those two are probably the strongest. Energy service still looks good too. And some of these other ones, like the overall markets, I mean, they could roll over here. I mean, it's possible. We'll see what happens with yields. The dollar, generally speaking, if yields were to really take off and crash to the downside, that may not be a good thing. That may be a signal that people are running to bonds and that they're afraid of something in the market. What that thing is that they're afraid of, I don't know. No one's going to know that. The news will come out later and try to explain what they're afraid of, and they could get it completely wrong. But right now, I'm hanging in there. We got a question and answer session coming up on Saturday, 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you guys are interested in joining, bring whatever questions you got. Love to see you there and ask whatever questions. All right, guys, that's what we got for today. We'll catch you later. This is Finding Value.